What's up, guys? I feel like I'm just cranking these videos out all the time. 1 and 2 yesterday. Not happy about that. That full game total 1, and I'm going to have 2 full game totals today. So hopefully my totals continue to do well. They were really hot at the beginning of the season and then kind of tailed off a little bit, but they've been really my better plays, I think. Both sides lost. Both sides were better through the first 5 innings. I think Houston was tied through the first 5, and the Dodgers were winning through the first 5. So making those first 5 inning plays, they would have gone 1-0-1 instead of 0-2, 0-2-0. So that kind of pisses me off. We're getting into the ranting. I don't think I totally mishandicapped those starting pitching matchups. It's like, what can you do, man? The Dodgers, I think they were up 3-0, 2-0. I don't know what it was. So they had the lead through 5, blew it, retied the game late at 3, and then they wound up losing like on a walk-off right after that. That's just great. Move on to today. I got 3 plays today. No full game sides, so hey, maybe that's a good sign. Although I think we missed out on some of the better numbers on a couple of these totals. First game up is going to be which game? The side that I have. This is a first 5 inning play. Yeah, Chicago White Sox, first 5 innings. This is a game. Both of these teams are horrible. Nobody's going to want to even watch this game. Rockies, White Sox. But I think there is a reason to play the White Sox here. And I'm going to make it a first 5 inning play because I don't want to deal with the White Sox atrocious bullpen. I don't think either of these teams have good bullpens, but Chicago used some of their better relievers yesterday in a 5-3 win over the White Sox. The White Sox beat the White Sox. Yeah, that does happen a lot. 5-3 win over the Rockies in the first game of the series. I think Drew Thorpe pitched pretty well for the White Sox. He could potentially be a decent pitcher as he gets going in his career, but the White Sox used like 3 of their better relievers, even though their relievers aren't really that good. They had to get the save and hold off the Rockies in that game. The Rockies only used 2 of their relief pitchers, so I don't want to deal with the bullpens. Both bullpens suck. I'm going first 5 inning here. I think we have the edge in the starting pitching matchup here, and the market looks like it is indicating on the White Sox side, at least on the full game money line, even though the White Sox have dropped from -108 to -107. Not a significant move there, but we see Colorado with 86% of the tickets. Basically, any team playing against the White Sox tends to be public, man, because the White Sox are the worst team in baseball. But are they so bad that they're not going to be able to potentially win at home against an awful Colorado Rockies team? No, I mean, the White Sox have won games here and there, and they have some decent starting pitchers. 71% of the cash on Colorado, so a lot less of the cash than the tickets. But it's a situation where Colorado's a public road team and has less of the cash than the tickets and still the majority of the cash. So I'm fading the public. Even though I'm making it a first 5 inning play, I still consider it to be fading the public. I don't think the market will look that much different on a first 5 inning play. You can get White Sox first 5 inning -104. I think on the full game, you can get a similar line like -105, 106, whatever. Taking the bullpens out of the equation, Cal Quantrill is pitching for the Colorado Rockies, and I think his 3.5 ERA looks good, but is misleading. He's got a 1.3 ERA. 1.3 whip. I keep saying ERA. That whip is indicative that his ERA should be worse than 3.5. And the rest of his stats, his peripherals are not very good, man. He's got 64 strikeouts and 34 walks in 90 innings. Not a good strikeout walk ratio, very low strikeout rate. He's only allowed 83 hits, so that's good. But that number of walks is pretty high, given that his whip is pretty high and he's not allowing that many hits. That means he's putting men on base otherwise, and those walks kind of high, so not a good strikeout pitcher, doesn't have great control. I don't trust Quantrill. And the other thing that makes this a play is that Cal Quantrill spent much of his career on the Cleveland Indians, who are in the same division as the White Sox. So these White Sox hitters have seen him a good amount, and they've done pretty successfully against him. They're 24 for 81 off him lifetime, so a big sample size too. 4 doubles, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, 18-3 strikeout walk ratio is good. Although I tend to defer to looking at like larger sample sizes for the strikeout walk ratio, like what we see in his career. So that doesn't concern me that much. But either way, the White Sox hitters, even though their hitters suck, they're 296 lifetime off of Cal Quantrill batting average and 778 OPS. So Quantrill has not succeeded in his history against these White Sox hitters. Then on the other side, you got Jonathan Cannon, who I don't think he's that bad. I think he's better than his 4.59 ERA and 1.41 whip make him look so far. His strikeout walk numbers are better than Quantrill's, even though we got a small sample size to look at here. 29 strikeouts, 6 walks, and 33 in the third innings. That's not that bad, but he's allowed 41 hits. So he's getting hit around. But a lot of that, he's just coming off a real ugly start. We only went 1 inning against Detroit. And I think I played the under in that one and got smacked. But, I mean, I don't know what you could take away from a 1-inning performance. He had 1 strikeout, no walks. He gave up 2 home runs, 7 hits in that one. 5 earned runs, but 8 runs came across because there were also errors involved in that one. I think you can kind of ignore that a little bit. He seemed to be trending in the right direction before that. I don't think he's as bad as his worst start, and maybe that means he's in a bounce-back spot, and he didn't exert a lot of energy in that one because he was taken out of the game so early. So I think he might be in a bounce-back spot and be ready for a better performance here. He's facing a Rockies offense that isn't very good, and they've never seen Cannon before, so that tends to be a little bit of an advantage to that young pitcher if he has decent stuff, and I think he kind of does. So I think Cannon's being overlooked here, being undervalued, and Quantrill probably being a little bit overvalued here. And a lot of this, again, has to do with the familiarity aspect, where the White Sox are very familiar with Quantrill and have done really well against him. Colorado's completely unfamiliar with Cannon. And I think that could be an advantage, as I always say, to the young pitcher who hasn't been seen before early on. So I like that a lot better. So I'm making it a first 5-inning play. Don't deal with the bullpens. Chicago White Sox, first 5 innings, minus 104. Then we get into the totals. I'm going to go under 7.5, although this line has moved down. Speaking of Cleveland, Kansas City, I like this pitching matchup for an under here, man. This line has gone down. That looks like it opened at 8, and it's down to 7.5, juice to the over. So it hasn't really gone down that much. We see 60% of the tickets on the under. So the under does look like it has some public action, although I don't know how involved the public gets in full game baseball totals. Probably not that involved. But we also see 96% of the cash coming in. So I do think there's legitimate money playing the under in this one. And I think it makes sense. Obviously I do, because that's why I'm doing it. So more of the cash than the tickets coming in pretty significantly so on the under in this one. And the line has moved down on the under a little bit. You can still get under 7.5. You want to make sure that you get that hook, though, I think, because 7 is a key number in baseball. 7 and 9 both are, because when you get the 3-3 or 4-4 tie, that one extra run is what breaks the tie and is required for a team to win the game, obviously. So 7 and 9, key numbers there. You can get under 7.5 at even money in this game right now. So I think that's a decent way to play it, decent price here. Looking at what we got going on here, this was a high-scoring game yesterday, man. So that might also maybe give us a little bit of value in the line, keep some of the bettors from wanting to come in and play an under on a pretty low total here. And maybe they don't even realize that these two pitchers are as good as they are. Some of the recreational bettors might not realize that. But yesterday's game was a 10-3 Kansas City win. So that makes it look, I mean, that's a high-scoring game. But the bullpens didn't really get used that much in the game. It was a blowout game, so the teams kind of used some of their worst relievers, I would say. Cleveland used some of their innings eaters, just 2 guys to finish off the game. They really pretty much saved most of their better relievers, or if not all of them. And Kansas City maybe used a couple of their better relievers, but only used 3 relievers overall. So I think the bullpen situation is fine. So play the under here. And then, of course, a lot of it relies on the starting pitching, and hopefully the starting pitching can get us deep into this game. And I think this sets up for a nice underplay here based on the starting pitching. Tanner Bibby is pitching for Cleveland. I think he's still flying under the radar, man. He's 25. I don't think people realize he's as good as he is. Having a good season, 3.5 ERA, 1.12 whip. That's all good. His strikeout numbers are pretty insane, really. He's got 106 strikeouts and 22 walks and 87 in the third innings pitched, and he's only allowed 76 hits. So very good strikeout rate, very high strikeout rate. Good strikeout walk ratio as well. Not walking that many. He's not allowing that many hits. So there's really not much to dislike about Bibby's performance this season, man. He's been pitching well. And this month, he's been doing more of the same, if not better. 37-4 strikeout walk ratio this month. In 22 and a third innings pitched, 18 hits allowed. The one maybe drawback is that Kansas City did see him back on June 6th. But this is a divisional matchup, man. So you know there is going to be familiarity here. But I think the familiarity, we can kind of ignore that a little bit when you have 2 pitchers that are actually good. So even though, yeah, these offenses are somewhat familiar with these pitchers because it's a divisional matchup, I think that these pitchers are good enough that we can kind of ignore the familiarity aspect a bit. And because it's a divisional game and it's two of the top three teams in the division, basically, I think these teams are going to be highly motivated. I think we're going to see some motivated pitching performances in this game too. So we might see that have a tendency to trend towards the under as well. And Bibby, looking at his stats against Kansas City, they actually haven't seen him that much, even though they did just see him. So they do have that recent familiarity thing, which might help Kansas City's hitters a little bit. But even so, looking at Bibby's numbers in his career against Kansas City's only 7 for 35 off him lifetime, 3 doubles, no other extra base hits, 1 RBI, 10-5 strikeout walk ratio. So the number of walks is a little bit high. It's a little bit concerning, but other than that, it's a 200 batting average and 586 OPS. So Kansas City's hitters, their numbers are pretty weak against Tanner Bibby. And then on the other side, Cole Reagans, he's pretty much Kansas City's ace, man. He's putting together a nice season with a 3.03 ERA, 1.15 whip, kind of similar to Bibby in a way, and he's got a ridiculous strikeout rate too. 120 strikeouts and 33 walks and 98 innings pitched and 80 hits allowed. So very similar to Bibby in that he's got a very, very high strikeout rate. He's fooling hitters. His walk rate isn't that high. Strikeout walk ratio is nice, and he's not allowing that many hits. So both of these pitchers are pretty much dominating. And this month, Reagans hasn't been that bad either. 37-11 strikeout walk ratio. So the number of walks is a little bit high. So that is a little bit concerning. And really the only good offense that he faced this month is the Dodgers, but he did pretty well in that game too. But he's allowed 22 hits in those 31 innings this month. So his recency looks pretty good too. He's still pitching well. Reagans is a good pitcher, man. We're almost looking at like two aces here. And even though I said, yeah, these hitters might be familiar with them, maybe not as much, man. And Reagans actually, Cleveland has actually not seen Reagans this year. So even though Kansas City has seen Bibby has good history against them, and it's not really a huge sample size. Reagans' sample size against Cleveland is actually low enough that I actually don't think that Reagans has ever actually made a full start against Cleveland, or at least these hitters haven't really seen him. Only 4 of Cleveland's hitters have even seen him before. So I take that back, actually. There's less familiarity with these starting pitchers than what you would think, this being a divisional matchup. So I think that does help the pitchers as well. Reagans, Cleveland only has seen him 9 at bats worth, and they're 2 for 9 off him with no extra base hits, 1 RBI, 3-1 strikeout walk ratio. It's a 222 batting average of 522 OPS in limited playing time. So some of these hitters haven't even seen him before. So the hitters that haven't seen him before might struggle against a guy as good as Reagans too. So that's going to be an under, man. I like the under in that one. Cleveland, Kansas City, under 7.5. You can get it even money, plus 100. And if you guys follow me, you probably know where I'm going for the other under, man, because it's going to involve probably the best rookie pitcher in baseball. And he's maybe even making a case for being one of the best pitchers in baseball at this point. In a matchup between 2 good pitchers, you know I'm talking about Paul Skenes, man. So this is Pittsburgh, Atlanta. This is a situation where I think the public, again, might be, I mean, they're not going to undervalue these pitchers necessarily, but then you might not want to totally come in on a low total like this in a game where they know Atlanta does have a good offense, which is true. But if anybody's going to be able to deal against an Atlanta offense and keep them in check, it's going to be a guy like Paul Skenes, who's a rookie phenom with excellent stuff, who Atlanta also has never seen before. We do see 70% of the tickets are coming in on the under here, so it does look like it's somewhat public, recreational betting-wise, but 85% of the cash also coming in on the under. So it looks like more significant money than the tickets are coming in on the under. So I do think the market is indicating on the under. 7.5 juice to the over at minus 120 is where this opened, and it's now 7.5 juice to the under at minus 120. So kind of have to get on this one. If you get on it now, I think let me see. What's the best we can get? I don't think you can get under 7.5 at minus 110 anymore. Minus 112 you can get. So it's pretty close to playing under 7.5 minus 110. So I don't mind that. Under 7.5 minus 112. Like I said, you do probably want to get the hook, especially if you're only paying like 2 cents more for it. Well, whatever it would be. Getting under 7, I think you're probably getting like plus money on it. But I still like to get the hook here. As I said with the other total, the 7 is the key number because when you have a 3-3 game, the 1 extra run breaks the tie. So basically when it's 3-3, that means the game has to land 7 or higher at that point. So 7 and 9 are key numbers in baseball. But yeah, so anyway, yeah, that's all I have to say about that. The market indicators look like it is that we do have more of the cash on the under, and the line does look like it's trending towards the under. And then obviously look at the starting pitching matchup. Well, look at the game yesterday. I mean, the game yesterday was pretty low scoring, 6-1 win for the Braves. But looking at the bullpen usage yesterday, not really a whole lot going on there. The Braves used 3 of their relievers, but their bullpen is actually pretty good. So I'm not too concerned about that. And the Pirates used 2 of their relievers that they used. Jeffries, who is a terrible pitcher and has an 11.37 ERA. They used him for 3 innings, and he actually pitched 3 innings of shutout ball, and they just used him to eat up innings after they had to take Perez out early. So Pittsburgh's bullpen is in good shape, and they're the worst of these 2 bullpens. So you got Atlanta, who used a little bit more of their bullpen yesterday, but not much. Only 3 relievers, and it wasn't a close game, so not really their best relievers. And they're the team with the better bullpen, whereas Pittsburgh basically saved pretty much all of their bullpen. So I think the bullpen situation is fine for playing an under here as well. Both bullpens are not in bad shape here. And then, obviously, the starting pitching matchup, Paul Skenes. I mean, come on. What is there not to like about Skenes at this point, man? They're unleashing him. They're letting him go around 100 pitches in every one of his starts. He hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs in any start this season, and that was 2 of his starts. And other than that, he has 6 other starts, or he's allowed 2 or fewer. And actually, in 5 of those starts, he's allowed 1 or fewer earned run. I think this guy's absolutely the real deal. His strikeout walk ratio is insane. His strikeout rate is insane. Kind of just like the 2 other pitchers I just talked about, but really even better. He's got a 61-8 strikeout walk ratio in 46 1/3 innings, and has only allowed 38 hits. Everything about his numbers are sick. 2.14 ERA, 0.99 whip. I'm pretty much gay for Paul Skenes, man. I love this guy. And obviously, like I said, even though the Braves have a pretty good offense, I mean, one of the best offenses in baseball, really, even without Acuna, who I think he must still be out, right? He's out for the season probably. Their offense is still pretty good without him, but still, Paul Skenes, absolutely the real deal. Excellent stuff, excellent pitcher, excellent numbers, and the Braves have never seen him before. So I think that's a little bit more of an advantage early on to the rookie phenom pitcher. As I always say, when the batters haven't seen that pitcher before, they tend to struggle a bit. So I think that could be the case there early on. Paul Skenes, got to like him. And then on the other side, Max Fried is pitching for Atlanta. And I think he continues to kind of fly under the radar, man. I don't think people realize he's as good as he actually is. Because, I mean, Atlanta has a few like pretty good pitchers in their starting rotation that kind of overshadow him a little bit, but he's good. He's a veteran pitcher. He is coming off a good start and a win over the Yankees, but I don't think he's going to be in a letdown when he knows he's up in a pitching duel here against the great Paul Skenes. So I think he's going to be motivated to show something and not want this rookie dude to overshadow him, man. I mean, Fried, he's got good numbers on the season, too, a 3 ERA, a 1.07 whip. He's got good strikeout walk numbers as well, even though his strikeout rate isn't as high as these other guys I mentioned. He's got an 80-27 strikeout walk ratio. So maybe you'd like to see the walks be a little bit lower and the strikeouts be a little bit higher. That's in 90 innings pitched, but he's also only allowed 69 hits. 69, nice. So he's keeping the hits way down as well. So his numbers overall, I mean, they're quite good, man. Just I like it overall. And then looking at him versus this Pittsburgh lineup, we do have a good sample size to look at here. So even though Pittsburgh is pretty familiar with Fried, they haven't seen him recently. I don't think they haven't seen him this year. So that might help him a little bit. But Fried has done well against Pittsburgh, against the hitters that Pittsburgh has in his career, man. We have a big sample size here. And Pittsburgh is only 17 for 77 off him lifetime. So very weak hitting numbers off him with 1 double, 1 home run, 6 RBIs. He's got a 23-4 strikeout walk ratio against them, 221 batting average, and 532 OPS. So very weak numbers from these Pittsburgh hitters against Fried. And I don't think Pittsburgh's offense is really that good anyway. That's going to do it for me, man. Getting efficient videos out now. 3 plays in under 20 minutes. Hell yeah. Get right to it. Right to the gold, baby. And let's hope we get some wins now. Because again, like I said, I was on that nice little 2-day mini heater. And then yesterday stopped. That we got to get back on track, man. I got to get back up at least to being even on the year. I'm down like over 1,000 or something right now. Let's get back to breaking even, man. Chicago White Sox, first 5 inning, -104. Under 7.5 +100 in Cleveland, Kansas City, and under 7.5 -112 in Pittsburgh, Atlanta. Let's get it done. Have a good Saturday. Peace.